How's it going, guys? This is Dakota from Foxhole Outdoors, and I'm here today to talk to you guys about where to start when putting together a bushcraft kit. I found that putting together a bushcraft kit can be a very daunting task if you have no idea what you're doing, which is basically where I was starting from. So I decided to do some research. I have had this book called Bushcraft 101 by Dave Canterbury in my library for quite some time. And I actually decided to give it another read, and I found that the most important place to start when deciding on what you're going to bring into the field as a bushcrafter is with the 5 C's of survivability. And I'm sure you've all heard them before, but in case you haven't, I want to list them out for you guys right now. So the 5 C's of survivability are containers, combustion elements, cordage, coverage, and cutting tools. Now, as a hiker and a camper for years, I have most of these things already, but over the next few weeks I really want to start diving in to what makes a good tool in each of these categories. So what is good cordage? What is a good combustion element? What are the best cutting tools? What is a good container? And what is good cover? I feel like all of these things are extremely important to you and to myself as a bushcrafter. So as we go along over the next few weeks, I'm going to start building a kit. I think I'm going to start with probably the easiest one for me personally, and that's going to be cutting tools. So if you just give me a second to get everything out, I'm going to set up on my table some cutting tools for you guys to look at. The cutting tools that I'm going to be choosing from. Alright, welcome back, guys. So as you guys can see right here in front of you, if it'll focus, right, so I brought out my pocket knives. So I'm going to go through all of my knives and tell you why or why not that I would be taking these out into the field. And I wanted to start off with the obvious nose, which is going to be the pocket knives, right? So just as an example, right, this is my prized, my favorite pocket knife. This is my Benchmade Griptilian. I bought this several years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. It was my first ever knife, and I love this thing to death, right? This is my everyday carry knife. As you can see, there's a lot of wear and tear. It's been sharpened quite a few times. It's been used. There's actually even a screw missing. I got to contact Benchmade about that. And it's just it's a beautiful knife. You know, anybody who has delved into the pocket knife world knows that the Benchmade Axis lock is nigh unbreakable. They are amazing. And so I'm sure you're asking, well, then why don't you just take it into the field? Why want to make a good pocket knife? Well, bushcraft knives, at least in my personal opinion, should never, ever be pocket knives. They should never not be fixed blades. They should never be able to open and close as such. And that's just because of safety, right? If I hate batoning, I really do. I never liked it, even as a camper. But if I had to baton something because, let's say, I didn't bring an axe or a hatchet out with me, I would not trust even the legendary Axis lock on a Benchmade to not break or to not fail me. So yeah, no, these are all out. You know, if you guys want a video detailing some of my pocket knives in my collection, I have some really interesting ones. This is my Parker butterfly knife that I picked up at a antique store. That would make a good story, or anything else. Just let me know, and I can definitely do that for you guys. So now that we have that out of the way, let's move on to the contenders. We're going to start from the lowest price and move up to the highest prices, right? So in the $10 to $30 range, you get a classic, a staple in bushcraft, right? You get the Moras. These Moras are great. Everyone loves them. I've never heard anybody say a bad thing about a Mora. This is the Mora Basic, right? This was my camp knife for actually a few years. It's the knife that I learned how to sharpen knives on. And I even did a little sheath modification where I just put a little strap on the back, but that's not really important. And you know, it's a good knife. The Moras are a good knife. This is the Cans Bowl Mora. As you can see, this was also put through its paces. I've used all of these knives at least on one trip, and this was a good little camp knife while I was using it. Ooh, that's a sneak peek. Don't look at that. Right. So this is these are great knives, right? And I would never ever talk trash on a Mora. I love my Moras. They're not full tang, which is kind of a turnoff for some people, but it doesn't really bother me. I've seen them break, but only under extreme duress, and I've never personally broken a Mora. And so I would highly recommend these for anybody who's just getting into bushcraft who does not have the same budget or lovely gift givers as I do. And I love these knives. And honestly, I feel like I actually have always preferred this Mora Basic over the Mora Cansable, and I've never felt the need to upgrade from a Mora Basic to like a Garberg or anything. And so I think that this knife in particular, this Mora Basic, is definitely going to stay in the running, because it's a budget option, right? I could take this out in the field, and if this breaks, I'm not going to be sad, right? Because this is just a $10 knife. I can pick it up on Amazon, have it shipped to my house in 2 days, and be back out in the field. So I think this is definitely one to look out for. Right, and then from there, my personal knife collection takes a little bit of a jump. We move up to this. Some of you guys might not know what this is, but this is a Jeff White knife. I believe it's his Bush 1. It's a smaller knife. The blade length is only around 3.5 inches. It's got around a 4-inch handle. I have large, extra large size hands. It fits comfortably in my hands. 01 tool steel, very thin blade, as you can see. I believe it's actually the same thickness as the Mora. Right, and these are going to be running you right around 40 to 50 bucks. This one did not come with a sheath, and it was $40. It was a gift from my lovely wife. It's got beautiful maple handles. Lovely knife. However, it's a nice knife. But through my testing and my personal experience with it as a camping knife, it's not as comfortable as I would like it to be for a knife that's going to be hard use. It's a little thinner, and it's a little bit more expensive. If I break this, I might not be able to get one as quickly as I would a Mora. And because of those reasons, plus the sadness I would feel if I ever broke this in the field, because it was a gift from my wife, I don't think I could take this out with me as a bushcrafting knife. As a camping knife, as a cooking knife, I found that this excels at cooking tasks. I've actually used this in the kitchen more than I've used it out on camping trips. This is my go-to butchering knife and my go-to cutting knife for vegetables and all kinds of meats. And there it excels, and I love it for that, and I don't have to worry about busting it on a knotty piece of wood. And from there we go on to probably my favorite style knife. This is a Condor Nessmuck knife. Right around the same price point as that Jeff White knife, $45, $50 depending on when you buy it from Amazon. It's a lovely knife. It's a 1075 carbon, I believe, made in El Salvador. It's got a little Scandi grind right here with the Nessmuck blade shape. A little bit thicker than the Jeff White knife, not by much. This is probably one of my favorite camping knives, period. I've taken this on many a trip. I've skinned and gutted an eel with this knife that my friend caught, and it just has a lot of memories for me. I took a sheath from a knife that you're going to see later, and I molded it to fit this sheath, to fit this knife, because I really liked this knife with the sheath. But yeah, I just love this knife. I love the Scandi grinds, and honestly, because I have so much dirt time with it, this handle is super comfortable. I don't ever feel like this is going to break on me or bust in the handle. There's no hot spots with this handle. This is definitely a contender for going out into the bush with me. I love this knife. All right, so I'm gonna put that one up here. It's a maybe. All right, that's a maybe. These ones are no's, and this is the definites, right? From there, we actually take a pretty big jump up in price. We move on to some $100-ish knives. Right, these knives are right around $100. Right, so these are the $100-ish knives, and they range. Right, these are all different types of blades, all different types of grinds. Actually, it's mostly just one grind. Right, so we'll start off with the definite no's. Right, so this is my Enzo Trapper with a Scandivex grind, sharpened for me by a fellow pastor and maybe one day friend, the Rev Hiker. If you guys don't know him, you should check him out. He's really good at sharpening knives. He does YouTube. Just a really nice guy, down to earth. And it's an okay knife. It's just an okay knife. And that's the issue, right? I paid $100 for this knife. I figured, it'd be a pretty good investment. It'd be a nice little knife to use outdoors, maybe get into some bushcrafting. And this was originally supposed to be my original bushcrafting knife. I bought this for myself as a bushcrafting knife, and then never got around to bushcrafting with it because I took it out camping and just found out that it was horrible. And for me, I think the thing that really cut it for me, cut it. Sorry about that, guys. My camera stopped recording for some reason. I'll have to fix that later. So yeah, this is the Enzo, and the reason why it doesn't make the cut is just because it's not good. I thought that with the Scandi grind, this would be a great knife for woodscraft, and just working it. I don't know if it was just my personal handling experience of it, but the handle is. I can't do this handle. I don't know if it's just too small. There's hot spots all over this handle for me. It's flat. And even just grabbing it like that, I felt a hot spot right there. And I just can't do this knife. This is a definite no. And maybe you'll like it, but I just don't. I do not enjoy the Enzo Trapper. Next up, we come to some knives that would be just as at home in your bug out bag as in your bushcrafting kit. Right, we have the Essies. Right, this is an SE4, and this is my personal survival knife. That's my SE6, and I truly enjoy my Essies. I think that Essies are a great investment. Both of these knives, by the way, are only around $100. The SE6 is just as much as the SE4. Go figure. Kind of weird. Removable handle scales. They are 1095 carbon steel, made in the U.S. by Rowan. They're amazing. I love them. I love Essies. As you can see here, this knife, this one is stripped of its coating. And that's because when I was doing some camping chores, I found that coating really, at least for me, I can feel it. I can feel it hindering some general like wood carving tasks and just some general camp chores, like hacking off tree limbs and stuff. And I didn't really like it, so I took it off for the most part. I left some on the top. I like the way it looks. And then this is actually my wife's SE4. I bought this for her birthday a few years back, and it's kind of just made its way into my collection because she doesn't really use it, which is fine. More knives for me, right? Like, it's a good thing. And I love these knives as survival knives. Right, I don't know how these would make the transition into bushcraft. I know that some people love these for bushcrafting. They adore these. People will swear by these, but I just can't. I can't get over the tactical look. I don't want a tactical looking knife for my bushcraft. I'm very much a traditionalist. I want my gear to look traditionalist. I want to feel traditionalist, and I just feel like these go way too much into tactical. And don't get me wrong, they're great knives. Like I said, I love these knives, and I will continue to use these knives on general camping tasks. This is going to be my survival knife. This is going to go with me no matter where I go, just in case. But for bushcrafting, for a bushcraft specific kit, I just don't think so. I don't like them for that. So those are gonna go right back in the sheaths, over into the pile of no's. And in the same vein, right? This is the Ontario Blackbird. Again, I love this knife. This was actually one of my first fixed blades ever. My mom bought this for me when I was a younger kid. This is a great knife. Love this knife, but again, it's too tactical. I don't know if it's just the sheath or what, but it just screams tactical to me. It doesn't scream bushcrafts. And you know, again, the handle scales are just too flat. I'm not really a big fan of flat handle scales. I like contour. I have a bigger hand, and so when my fingers have to rub together too much, it kind of just gets bothersome. And these curves, the lack of curves actually just bother my fingers. I can feel hot spots right there for where my skin is contacting with the handle. So again, the Ontario, just no, not my cup of tea. And then we come to the final $100 knife range. This is actually a sheath that I made for this knife. I love this knife. My wife, again, bought me this knife. She's a wonderful woman. And this is the LT Wright Camp Muck. Again, like I said, I love the Nest Muck style blade. And when I first got into the knife world, I heard all these crazy stories about this guy, LT Wright, who made these knives with such a sharp spine, right? Just like the sharpest spines in the industry. And I have to agree. I own quite a few fixed blade knives, as you can see, and not a single one of them even comes close to the sharpness of this, right? So this is a little ferro rod that I bought online, and right, this is the LT Wright. Like, it just, sparks fly off. I'm barely applying any pressure here, and it takes off so much material. It's just such a great 90-degree spine. Perfect for bushcrafting, in my opinion. Even though I think it was originally purchased for me as, again, a little camp chores knife. It's a full flat grind A2 steel with a patina that I put on it with some mustard. And it was bought as like a camping knife. It wasn't bought as like a bushcrafting knife. Maybe a hunting knife, you know, if I needed to skin something, because this Nest Muck design is really good for skinning and processing game. And the flat grind really helps with processing food. Sorry about that. Went down the wrong pipe. This is a great knife. And for around $100, you cannot go wrong with buying one of LT Wright's knives. He is an amazing knife maker. He makes knives in all kinds of steels. And this is always going to be a yes for me. Always. 100% of the time. Next up, we move, again, upwards in price. This is, or was, the gem of my collection for a few months. My wife, again, the lovely lady she is, she bought me this. This right here is a Bark River, Fox River, in A2 steel with acacia wood handles, white G10 liners. This is a work of art, guys. I love this knife. This knife is beautiful. You know, let me get right up close there. Trying to get this to focus in. All right, look at this knife, guys. This is my ideal hunting knife, right? Convex grinds, nice 90-degree spine. It can shoot sparks, right? Like, no problems there. Cleans up beautifully. Looks just at home. Going on, I want to say a business trip, but looks just at home going on a hunting trip as it does a bushcrafting trip, as it does a normal camping trip. Sorry about the focus. This was my dream knife. I love Bark Rivers. Always wanted a Bark River. Never really had the funds to buy a Bark River. My wife came through in a big way this past year. for our baby moon with this beautiful, I would say piece of art, like I said before. This is a definite tester, right? I would definitely want to test this one. This is a knife that I want to see what it can do as far as bushcrafting goes. I know what it can do, processing game, cutting food. I know it's sharp, I know it works, and I know that a convex grind can be really good for some bushcrafting tasks, depending on what you use it for. So this is a definite tester, not a definite bushcraft user. Sorry about that, guys. My camera cut out, battery died. This knife is just a beautiful, beautiful piece of art. This is the Quick Hatch Custom Knives Forager, and this is a knife made by a man named Breton. All handmade in his shop. He has a bunch of different knives. Sorry about that, guys. He has a bunch of different knives. He has bushcrafting knives. He has everyday use knives. He has choppers. He has little small knives, and he has some survival knives too. And I was looking for a knife that could not only handle my camp chores, but could also be a reliable survival knife, right? So this is 01 tool steel, again, bone paper micarta, red G10 liners. It is a saber grind, and the one thing that really drew me to Breton and his knives was his grinds. I watched a couple of YouTube videos from people like Prepared Minds 101, and this man has insane grinds, right? This is a 3/16 thick piece of 01 tool steel, and there are claims out there that this knife can carve just as well as an 1/8 inch or a 16th inch Mora, which is insane to me, because this is a thick piece of steel, right? Like, it's a very comfortable handle, by the way. And I've gotten a little bit of field time, not a lot, maybe like 20-30 minutes outdoors, just seeing if it was as sharp as people said it was, and it is very sharp. Very wonderfully made, a piece of art, really, and it's just absolutely perfect for me. Now, that's not to say that this is going to win the shootout. This might not be my bushcrafting knife. Like I said, we're going to have to go through the tests, see which knife really performs the best, because I have heard stories of people who bought these, $250, $300 knives, and they took them out and they put them head to head against a Mora, basic, bushcraft, heavy duty, any of those, and the Mora outperformed it. It's more comfortable in the hand, it's better at carving because it's nice and thin, it's got that perfect Scandi grind, and sometimes the Mora just beats out your $300 custom knife. I don't think that's going to be the case here. I have a lot of faith in Breton over at Quick Hatch. If you guys do get the chance, go check him out. I know that he's not very well known in the knife community as of yet, but these knives are beautiful. And this was actually my grail knife. Like I said before, this is a knife that I sought after and wanted since about a year or so back, when I started looking into custom knives. Got a little bit of surface rust right there because of the 01. And so when we go out to test these knives, I feel as though this will probably be the best overall performer, just because of the thickness, the grinds, the comfortability. And I know for a fact that this is probably going to be the last knife to break. And not that I think any of these knives are going to break, right? Even with this Bark River, which is the hunting knife of the group. It's still got a pretty thick stock. Tapers down to a nice edge. It's not going to break. I don't think the Mora will break either. I've got faith in Mora. I've always had faith in Mora. Condor, I don't know. I haven't had much experience with Condor and their heat treats. I just know that this knife, for me so far, has been a wonderful addition to my collection. And then, of course, somebody who is sure to be a legend in the knife community at some point, if he's not already, an LT Wright knife, known for their quality. And this is it, guys. These are the 5 knives that will be going head-to-head in multiple tests, including, but not limited to, batoning, feather sticking, general carving tasks, food prep, etc. These are the knives that are going to go head-to-head to see which one fits best with my bushcraft kit and my style of bushcrafting. Now, before we end off this video, I just wanted to do a quick honorable mention. Something that I always carry and will always carry with me is some sort of multi-tool. And in the case of bushcrafting, I tend to like something that is smaller and more lightweight. I don't really want to carry anything that's too big or bulky. And so for my multi-tool, for my bushcrafting kit, I will be carrying this Leatherman multi-tool, the Skeletool. It's super lightweight. Don't even notice that it's there. 154 cm blade. It's got a screwdriver, a pair of pliers, and a bottle opener, which is basically all I need from a multi-tool for bushcraft. I'm going to have a separate awl. I'm not going to need much. Actually, probably the only thing I'm going to be using is the pliers. Maybe the wire cutters if I find some wire out in the bush. Weirder things have happened, right? Sorry about my coughing, guys. I seem to have a throat bug or something. I just have a cough that won't go away. So these are my main cutting tool options. If anybody does end up watching this, please comment down below which knife you personally like, which knife you think would be the best for bushcrafting, and just which knife you want to see win this shootout. Alright, this has been Foxhole Outdoors, and I thank you guys for viewing, and I hope you guys all have a lovely weekend.